Hi, everybody. This is Robert Middleton of Action Plan Marketing, and I've invited Alan Weiss to interview him about his new all-access growth program. So, Alan, why did you put this program together? Tell me about it.
Well, first, thank you, Robert, for this opportunity. I appreciate it. It's nice to be working with you in this manner. I put the program together because I believe that in this profession, you create a body of work. And I've been in this profession for 30 years, so I have a pretty substantial body of work. And I thought it'd be kind of neat to make it available to people on not only a computer, but on mobile platforms, so that just before you go to see a buyer, you watch a video called In the Buyer's Office. Or just before you call to get a referral, you listen to an audio about how to ask for a referral. So it's sort of real-time, just-in-time education. And I thought it was great to put it all in one spot. So that's why I did it.
Okay, good. So tell us what it contains. You've given us a hint, but you have 167 different programs in this. And some of these are just an hour long. Some are one-day workshops with 5 audios or videos. Some are a few days long. It's extensive, it's deep, and your insights are amazing. So just, they really are. I listened to 2 of these recordings yesterday and had my mind blown once again. And I said, you know, I've got to listen to that one again, take better notes. The whole one about reframing or framing was just exceptional. So tell us a little bit about the different pieces that are in this.
Well, you know, reframing is a good example to start with because, for example, when I show people how to reframe, I use a very common objection we get, which is, you know, we've never hired consultants here. And my response is, you'd be surprised about how many of my best clients today started the conversation in the same way. So I've reframed that from we never hired consultants to you're in with my best clients. It's that kind of quick hit. Now, I did a quick calculation, Robert. I think there's around $75,000 worth of material in there if you add up the prices of the seminars and the books and the workshops and everything else. And it ranges from starting a practice to growing a practice to building a brand to life balance. It talks to the new consultant, to the veteran consultant. It talks to coaches and entrepreneurs. And it, because of 30 years and because of all the diversity in there, it really deals with every aspect of the profession so that you don't need to go through this in a matriculated, sequential way. You can highlight what you want. They're all in front of you alphabetically. You can highlight what you want, choose it, and listen to it. And as you said, you can listen to it again and again if that's important.
Yeah. Why don't we show people actually what it looks like? When you sign up for this program, you come to a web page. Here it is. And you can get a sense that there's a heck of a lot of stuff here.
Now, some of these are subscriptions that took place over the course of a year, all here condensed so you can listen or watch at one time.
And some are just standalone ones like the one I mentioned. So just let's see what it looks like, just so you get a sense of it. You click on that. Then there's the audio you listen to, very simple. And some of them like, of course, now I can't find it amongst all these. You have a number of newsletters here. You have a number of articles. Most of those are collections of 5, 10, or 15 things. Some are more in-depth workshops.
That's right.
So we've got the implementation workshop, and that is 8 sessions, and these are about an hour and a half long.
Mm-hmm. So,
you know, where to start is really on you, but someone might be attracted to this.
That's right.
Sex, religion, and politics. Well, what does Alan Weiss have to say about that? Spirituality goes all over the place. Well, here's something, as you say, I'm looking to get referrals. How do I get referrals? And here we have a 2-session program and then 4 sessions from a workshop where we had got interaction and role plays. And
right. That's right. The role plays are right in there. You can actually see what happens. It's just like being part of the group, really.
Yeah, so great. So let's see, other things in here. Conflict resolution, disengaging. What's that about?
That's about how you properly close a project when there's not another project to follow. There's no repeat business. The project's over. How do you disengage cleanly So you're not, you're not involved with scope creep and you're not engaged forever. But also, how do you do it so that you get referrals, you get testimonials, the buyer serves as a reference. There are things you want to do to maximize what happens at that point.
Okay, good. A lot of people haven't thought of many of the things you talk about. As you say in your framing workshop, you're talking about how to look at this, and the buyer says, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that." I mean, you really keep reframing things in a way that make people think. So let's see, another one here. Leveraging alliances. What's that about?
Well, leveraging alliances is sort of what you and I are doing right now. In other words, you know someone who you really trust and who's good, and you say, how can we make something work that helps both of us? And unfortunately, a lot of people who come to people like you and come to me really don't want an alliance. What they want is to take money out of our pocket. So the question is, how do you create an alliance that's win-win-win? And it's not as easy as it looks.
No, that's true. Then you have something called the Almost Free Workshop. I assume that was a workshop you offered at a very good deal. And that's a number of sessions, video.
I did the Almost Free Workshop in 4 cities, and they were fundraisers. And so you had to give, I think, $25 or $50, which I donated to the Animal Protection League. And I'd get, 200 people, and I'd do a workshop on business growth. And so it was for charity.
Fantastic. And now it's available to everybody.
That's right.
And then we have some really practical, well, all of these are very practical, but in terms of marketing, what is more important than how to get in front of buyers?
Right.
Tell me some of your core ideas about that, Alan.
Well, the statistics and the research are overwhelming in that corporate buyers, what I call wholesale buyers as opposed to retail, corporate buyers buy almost exclusively on peer reference, on referrals from trusted others. And so the question for a professional services provider is, how do I get into that loop? And what I talk about in that kind of a setting is how you get on their radar screens, how they come to value your expertise, and how they spread it for you, how they evangelize for you. My feeling is that you need to see 2 buyers a week on average. Not every week, but on average. Because if you're seeing 100 buyers a year, you will have a very thriving practice if you just apply the numbers and the percentages against who will probably move forward with you.
In terms of meeting with buyers, are you talking about face-to-face meetings, phone meetings, Skype meetings, any kind of meeting?
Well, all of the above. I'm talking about, for example, if you have a speech with 20 buyers in the room, that takes care of 10 weeks, because I'm just talking an average of 2 a week.
Okay.
But in this business, though, you raise an important point. I mean, I would meet with a buyer by Skype in an initial setting if the buyer is 3,000 miles away. But if I wanted to close the business, and this was a true and interested buyer, I would get on an airplane and go out there, because the only true way to close high amount business, high volume business, is face-to-face.
Now, a lot of the people that are on my list are coaches. They're personal coaches. They're not necessarily selling to corporations. And you wrote a book called $1 Million Coaching, as well as $1 Million Consulting and $1 Million Speaking. And I'm not sure how many of the $1 Million books you have now. A lot of them.
A lot of them.
So do you have ideas in here that are appropriate to coaches, perhaps selling to smaller clients?
Yeah, that's what I call the retail business. Some coaches are selling to corporations because they're coaching managers and executives, but a lot of coaches are coaching entrepreneurs, professional services providers, and solo practitioners. And my advice to coaches is also in here. One of the things I advise about is the fact that you're smarter than you think you are. Because if you've ever helped anyone in the past and they've improved from it, congratulations, you're a coach. You don't need certificates on your wall. You don't need initials after your name. So you should have more confidence about what you do. Also, you'll find this really interesting. Coaches are among those professions who simply don't charge enough. They feel that self-promotion is inappropriate, so they sit home and wait for people to call. But the arrogance is not in self-promotion. The arrogance is in sitting home and thinking people will call you. And so I talk about more aggressive marketing for coaches.
Okay, good. Well, I agree. Okay, here's another one. I know just good to get a tidbit about a number of these. Power language. You talk about language a lot and how that controls everything. Give me some of your key ideas there in power language.
Well, first of all, language controls the discussion, and the discussion controls the relationship, and the relationship controls the business. That's an immutable sequence.
Yep.
And it all starts with language. You know, every organization is in the communications business. I don't care what their content is. So
Yep.
power language is language that puts you in an assertive position and directs conversation. So instead of saying, do you think we should discuss X? You say, let's discuss X. Instead of saying, what do you think the best way to do this is? You say, I think the best way to do this is, people like prescription. And when you engage in too much mutual diagnosis, you attenuate, you weaken your position. And so you have to be more prescriptive. And power language is about being more prescriptive. A doctor doesn't say to you, do you think we should take an antibiotic? The doctor says, take the antibiotic, and here are the instructions. And as experts, that's what we need to do too.
Right. Fantastic. You have quite a bit here about the whole selling process. And I find people have more problems with that than almost anything. Just, how to turn that meeting into a client. What are some of the biggest mistakes people make in the selling process?
Well, that's a great question. The fundamental mistake they make is that they think they're in the selling process. The fact is they're in the value process. And so instead of waking up and saying, what do I need to sell today to pay the bills? Who can I get money from? You have to say, I have a great deal to offer today. Who's going to benefit from it? If you're offering value, you're never loath to approach someone. But if you think you're selling, you become somewhat tentative because you think you're interrupting people. So the difference in that mentality is huge. So you have to get up in the morning saying, I'm offering value. You're lucky I came to you. The second thing about the business of transferring value in return for money is that you have to be able to articulate value. And value is always an improvement in the buyer's condition. It's never your methodology. It's never what you do. It's never how you do it. It's how the buyer is better off. And we have to cast our language, and that's why we have a program in here called the language of the sale as well. You have to cast your language along those lines. It's those kind of fundamental beliefs that I talk about throughout here that are very important if you're going to be effective.
Right, I agree. Fantastic. If you were to highlight one thing that I might not be familiar with, well, I don't know, that could be anything. Any other particular course that you really find creates a shift in understanding about this whole process?
And by the way, there's a program in here called The Coach's Calling. You were talking about coaching. There's a specific program called The Coach's Calling. But yeah, the one thing I would mention to you, now that you say it that way, is this. People want to make more money to support a better lifestyle. I mean, money's not everything, but people understandably want to make more money. And the thing about making more money is that you have to establish value with clients. And so the programs in here that are called 0 to 300 or 6 figures to 7, those show you how you can increase the size of your projects, not by working harder, but by improving the value you articulate for the client. So the client sees a bigger ROI. Right now, too many people, many of whom will be listening and watching these, charge based on their activity and their methodology and their approach and their time. They need to be thinking about the value that they create so they can charge based on that. The worst billers in the world are lawyers. They bill in 6-minute increments. Yet one would think lawyers provide a whole lot more value than 6-minute increments.
Right. It's interesting. When I first read your book 20 years ago and got the concept of value pricing, someone approached me and said, I need a new title for my book. We can't figure it out. And I said, well, I ought to use Alan's value pricing model here. And I charged them $2,500 just to name their book. Didn't take me a lot of time. They were happy to pay it. They came up with a great title. They used it. The book sold better than it probably would have sold. So it's amazing what, when I thought of value, now you probably would have charged $10,000, God knows, but
even back then, yes.
They were a little surprised that it was $2,500 at the time, and I wasn't charging an hourly fee to do it. Because, and it sort of let me loose to I did research, I tried ideas, I found out what was the content, I interviewed them, and, it was interesting.
Right. What's it worth? I mean, that's the question you have to ask. What's it worth? And if the stereotypical example is a great painting. It's not how long Picasso took to paint it.
No.
Value it brings to you in looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the big gain for people getting this program is how to sell more value, how to get paid for that value, how to build your esteem both in your own eyes and the eyes of the client, so that they see you as a value provider, not someone that's just charging a lot of money. I mean, that was the big shift that happened for me.
Yeah, I would add to that. Excuse me. I would add to that also reducing your labor. People work too hard. And the real wealth is discretionary time. And this program tells you how to increase your real wealth, because a lot of people are so busy running around making money, they're actually eroding their wealth. And that's something serious that you have to consider.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, we could talk about this forever, but we can't. But I think people should get a sense of, all the value in this program. And one program, applying it in a particular instance, could pay for this whole program.
In a minute.
So
Okay. We're offering it at a special rate here through our alliance, our friendship. But it's been on the market now for several months, and it's been doing extremely well globally. So I'm happy to offer it to your folks as well.
Yeah, so the original price is $2,500, and I asked Alan for a discount, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do that." So we're taking $500 off it. $500 off.
That's a single price. You don't have to renew. There's no subscription. That's it forever.
Yeah.
And every year we add more material to it.
Yeah. And Alan, I'm going to sweeten the deal a little bit. I have a membership club as well called the More Clients Club that I've had for about 8 years, and it has a lot of my information and recordings and interviews, etc. And people buy it on a monthly basis, and also it's a one-time fee. The one-time fee is $4.97. I'm going to give people the whole More Clients Club for free for anyone who signs up for Alan's program as well.
Wow.
So you get all of that. Yeah, and so if you're a subscriber to that already, once I get your names, I'll contact you. You won't have to subscribe for $29 anymore. You'll have forever access to it. For people who don't have the club, we'll just throw that in as an extra for you.
No, that's great.
You'll have enough information there to never have to buy another marketing program again.
That's right.
Because in my thing, I have a website toolkit that shows you how to build a website. I have the Fast Track program, which is the step-by-step process of building your marketing message and getting out there and creating marketing action plans. I have courses on selling. I have 60 interviews with experts like Alan, and more stuff. So between the two of them, and we're very different. Our approach is very different. I think Alan is the most brilliant consultant ever. I bow down to him.
Can I replay this?
Yeah, no kidding, guys. His material has been so helpful for me, and I'm going to really be getting deep into this. The next one I'm going to watch is Alan Weiss 101, just all your basics, to review some of that stuff, and then I'll get into other parts as I go. But my business, I'm 65. I'm not ready to retire. I'm looking at what's the next in my business. So no matter where you are, if you're a beginner and you really want to get the best information to start, if you've been in business for a long time and you're just not producing the results that you want, I think this is a great way to go. So you'll read the information below, and below that there's a link to purchase it. And last thing you want to say, Alan?
Just that, first of all, thank you for your kindness. It's very generous, and I think your offer is fantastic. And I just want to say to your people listening to this that this is not something that's been cobbled together on a short-term basis. It's result of 2 decades of work, and I think you'll find in one place all the resources you need to be successful, period, even if it means you never have to read another book that I write. That's fine with me.
Right. Okay, Alan, thank you very much for taking time today, and we'll see you when I see you.
Thanks, Robert. I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alan.